Hey guys, welcome to a brand new video on my channel, Meg's Movies. If you are new to this channel, this is basically where I talk to you guys about my passion for movies. This goes from collections, hauls, reviews, and to today's video, so let's get into it. Okay, so not gonna lie, I've been in a bit of a musical mood lately, as in listening to the music on Spotify. And it got me thinking, what are my top 10 favourite movie musicals of all time? Because I grew up with musicals, mainly from Disney, of course, but that sort of like expanded over the years, and musicals have sort of, as much as I don't watch them that much anymore, like I do watch them here and there, I don't watch them as much as I used to, I still think about them though. And like Barry says from The Flash, during the musical episode, he says something along the lines of music makes everything better. And you know what, I couldn't agree more with that, because when I'm feeling down or I'm feeling happy or if I want to distract myself, I tend to go to music more than I do movies. But anyway, so I thought, why not give you guys my top 10 favourite musicals. Now, this is just mainly like big film musicals, so things like Disney I've not included, animated films I've not included, because I'll probably do a separate list down the line. But these are like the big ones. These are the main ones that I think pretty much most people would probably go for. I think the first one I'm going to show you, I don't think many people do. But certainly maybe the top 5 are ones that people tend to go for. But I'll give you like a little explanation as to why they're my favourites and things like that. So yeah, let's get into it. So at my number 10 spot, I have Sereno. Now, I have only watched this once, but it was very memorable to me, because I remember going to see this in the cinema with one of my work colleagues, and I wasn't expecting much from it, because I'm not really used to watching films set in like the olden times. Like, usually for me, I sort of like prefer more modern time things like that. I do like old time stuff, but things like this I wouldn't normally go for. So when I went to go and see it, I was just like, my work colleague wanted to see it, she thought it might be great, so I was like, I'll come see it with you. I was very surprised at how much I actually enjoyed this film. I cried. I really liked the songs in this. If you haven't watched it, I definitely recommend you do, especially for Peter Dinklage. He did such an amazing job in the role, and all the actors were great too, but for me it was Peter Dinklage. And I haven't watched many of his stuff. I mean, I've seen him in Elf, and I know he's in Game of Thrones. I've seen bits and pieces of Game of Thrones. I've not actually watched it all the way through. But I think he's a very underrated actor, I think, because you get a lot of the big names like Chris Evans or Jim Carrey or Robert De Niro. You don't really hear people talk much about Peter Dinklage, which is quite sad really, because he did such an amazing job in this role. I mean, like I said, I have only watched this once, but the fact that this is at my number 10 spot means something, because it was very impactful. Because I went into this film thinking, oh, it's just going to be an okay film, you know, it's not going to be anything special. But then I ended up really enjoying it, so I had to include it on this list. The next one at number 9 is Rock of Ages. Yet again, this is one that surprised me. I hadn't even heard of this one until a couple of years ago, and then I watched it and I thought, wow, I actually really enjoyed this film. Tom Cruise, I didn't realise he can sing. It's like so many actors, I didn't realise they could sing. But there's some really good actors in here. I mean, you've got Alec Baldwin, Russell Brand, Tom Cruise, and there's some actors in here that I can't remember their names. Julianne Hough, Catherine Zeta-Jones. So there's quite a lot of big names in this. Now, with this one, it's not like Sereno where the songs are actually originals. These are songs that people know. So like Wanted, Dead or Alive, Rock You Like a Hurricane, you know, Don't Stop Believing. So all songs like that. So these are just sort of like cover songs really. But it is a fun little musical. It's very weird. It's odd, but it's enjoyable. Not as weird as Repo, I will admit that. But no, I'm glad I got to watch this one. And so I do listen to the songs from time to time. Wanted Dead or Alive, sung by Tom Cruise. Tend to listen to that more than anything else. But I'm gutted because you can't actually get this soundtrack on Spotify. It's really annoying. But no, it's definitely a fun little watch. It's different. I like the fact that you go from Sereno, which is all serious, and then you go to Rock of Ages, which is a comedy. Number 8, we have In the Heights. Now, this is one I remember when this got advertised. I watched the trailer and I thought, oh, do I really want to watch this? So then I waited until it came to streaming, where you can rent it for like $1.99. I watched it and this surprised me. Yet again, another film that surprised me. And I'm really glad I've watched this because I thought this was such a good film. This has got Melissa Barrero, I think I'm saying her name right, who was in Scream. This was the first film I'd seen her in. She did an amazing job, I think. And the songs in this are fun and catchy. I mean, there's In the Heights, of course. 96,000, that's a fun one. But Blackout is the one that stands out to me the most. I quite enjoyed that one. But this is a fun little musical. It does have a serious storyline to it as well, so it's not just a funny comedy in parts. It does take a very serious turn at points. I'm shocked at a certain scene that I didn't think was going to happen, and then it did. But no, it's definitely worth the watch. Even if you just watch it the once, I think it's definitely worth it because it is very entertaining, it's fun, it's enjoyable. Some people might not enjoy it as much, but I'm glad I watched it, and I definitely would be watching this again. Okay, and at number 7, we have Moulin Rouge. So I think the main reason why I wanted to watch this one is because it got Ewan McGregor in it and Nicole Kidman. Plus, it was done by Baz Luhrmann. So Baz Luhrmann had done Romeo and Juliet before I'd watched this one, and I really enjoyed Romeo and Juliet, the one with Leonardo DiCaprio. So I thought, why not give another one of his movies a go? And yet again, another one that surprised me. I quite enjoy this film. Yet again, this is kind of like Rock of Ages, where it's covers of songs. Well, I think one is a cover of a song, I think. The rest are all actual songs, I believe. But it's a fun little musical, and yet again, another one, Ewan McGregor. Didn't know he could sing. Well, somewhat sing anyway. But it's not just got them two in it, it's also got Jim Broadbent, it's got John Leguizamo, and I know him as Sid the Sloth, so it's a bit different to see him in something like this. But I will say this is another one that does take a serious turn, so if you are looking for a fun comedy musical, this is definitely one I wouldn't recommend because it is more serious than funny. It does have its funny moments, but I will say if you're not a massive fan of like certain illnesses, or if you prefer fun fun musicals, then I wouldn't recommend this one. But if you want something serious, this is definitely one I recommend. It's a fun little musical. It's so over the top, but that's Baz Luhrmann for you. But no, it is a very good musical, and it's one I quite happily return to every so often. Okay, and at number 6, we have Phantom of the Opera. Now, this is the one that stars Gerard Butler in it. Yet again, I think a lot of people didn't like this film because of Gerard Butler. His singing is not exactly amazing, but I think he did well for what he had training for. Because I think when I watched the behind the scenes, I know he didn't have that much in the way of training before he did this. But at least he gave it a shot, and I think that's really good. The only reason why I watched this film is because my mum and my nan had gone to see Phantom of the Opera in theatres in London, and they said, why don't you watch the film, because it's a good story, and it is an emotional one. It's not going to be to everyone's taste. This is the one in this list that I think is only going to be to certain people's tastes. I say give it a shot anyway, but some people might not enjoy it as much as they enjoy the others I have on this list. But I think the costumes in this look amazing. The music is fun. It's enjoyable. I mean, obviously it's based on the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical. I know there's Love Never Dies. I kind of want them to do a sequel, kind of like bring these characters back, but they probably won't. But then, funnily enough, this also has Patrick Wilson. Now, I know him from the Insidious films, so when I watched him in this, I was quite shocked. I was like, okay, you've gone from the bloke in Insidious to a very charming gentleman, so yeah. But it's a very good musical. It is very sort of like dramatic, over the top, because obviously it's an opera essentially. But this is one I definitely return to every so often. It's one of those ones, I know it says it's in a weird way, it's one of those ones that I have to be in the mood for because of the story and things like that. So it is one of those ones that, like I said, it's not going to be to everyone's taste, but I definitely recommend you watch it at least once. Okay, and we're now to the top 5, and it is such a weird range of films, so enjoy. At number 5, we have Little Shop of Horrors. I remember watching this on the TV. I think it was on like ITV or something like that at the time. And I was like, oh, Rick Moranis. I like him. He was good in Ghostbusters. He was good in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So I thought, give this a go. Watch this in full. And it's also got Steve Martin in it. Now, he creeps me out in this film because he's a dentist. I hate the dentist. I'm not a massive fan of it. I hate going. So when we get the song, I'm a dentist, I don't like that scene. I have to look away. But Steve Martin does a very good job. But this is a fun, cheesy movie. I know this is a remake of the original film. I've not seen the original, so I can't say if this is better or worse or anything like that. I will say the only character that annoyed me was, is it Audrey? Yeah, that one there. I don't know why, but she just annoys me in the film. But I think everyone else does a very good job. The plant is sassy, and I love sassy characters. It's weird to think that there's a talking plant in this. I told you, there's such weird films out there. But no, this is a fun little musical. So if you want something cheesy, definitely recommend this one. Okay, and at number 4, we have the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Good old Tim Curry at his best. Well, one of his best. I still haven't seen him in it. I don't know how good he is in that. But yeah, again, one of those weird musicals. I know, they're just, some musicals are either serious or weird. I love it. But yeah, again, this is another one that I grew up with. I think we had to watch this in our drama class in high school, and that's when I fell in love with it. This is, again, another one of those ones. It's a fun little musical. This did come out in 1975, so it's one of those ones that if you prefer the more modern musicals, you probably wouldn't like this one. But I'd still say give it a go. It's Tim Curry at his finest. He's funny in this, and he's enjoyable. But who else is in this? Susan Sarandon, she did a good job in this film. But yeah, like I said, if you like odd musicals, this is definitely one you could watch. Okay, and we're now into my top 3. Now, 2 of them, one of them is a more recent film. The second one is one that I'd watched a few years ago and became obsessed with. And then the very first one is the one that got me into musicals, which I think everyone knows. But yes, so at number 3, we have The Greatest Showman. There was no way I was not going to include this on my list. This is such an amazing musical. I remember when I went into the cinema, I saw the trailer and I thought, this looks great. This looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. But then it's just that opening, like the couple of notes at the beginning where it goes, ba, 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 da, ba, ba. Just that. No actors in the scene, nothing. It was just that dramatic stance. And it just brought me in. I was like, what am I watching? And then Hugh Jackman sung the song, and then I got intrigued in more. And then it weren't just the songs though, it was the singing. The talent in this film is very good, very well done. Zac Efron is in this, Zendaya, Hugh Jackman, Kiara Seattle, is that how you say her name? I think that's how you say her name, I'm not sure. She did an amazing job, and the fact that when you watch, there's a video on YouTube where she sings the song This Is Me, which is the most powerful song in the film, I think, personally, where she sung that and she made everyone cry at the testing for this film. Go and watch that. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend you go and watch that. But the fact that it was Hugh Jackman that spotted her and asked her to be in the film and things like that, brilliant. But it's not just that, it is such a good film in the sense of the costumes, the story. Zac Efron and Zendaya, they have this lovely romantic song, Rewrite the Stars. Love that song. I don't think there's one song I hate in this film, because I get some kind of enjoyment out of every single one. So if you want something that's a little bit funny, a little bit serious, but also has a great soundtrack, this is definitely one I'd recommend. I even took my mum to the cinema to go and see this, because I told her you have to see it on the big screen. And even she enjoyed it, because she's one that doesn't really go to the cinema that often. So it took me a bit to persuade her to do it. But once we got there and she heard that opening bit like I did, she was in and she enjoyed it. So that is saying something, especially since my mum's not a massive musical fan. So seriously, if you have not watched this, give this a go. Okay, and at number 2 is Labyrinth. This is the one that I watched a few years ago. If you don't know the backstory, basically my sister wanted to watch this film, so I thought, I'll pick it up, you know. I might give it a go. It's a musical, you know. I don't know what, I can't remember why she wanted to watch it, but I'd watched it, and the best part is, she didn't like it, but I did. I enjoyed this film. It's cheesy, it's fun, it's 80s, and this is why I love the 80s so much, because the 80s give out such fun musical movies. David Bowie, amazing job. There's some very good songs in here. There's one song in here that creeps me out though, and it's with the Fireys? The orange puppety characters. Yeah, no, I can't watch that scene, that just creeps me out. And that's not a very fun song for me. But everything else in this film I really enjoy. The costumes in this are great. But yeah, so this is one of Jim Henson's bests, I think. Obviously Jim Henson's the one that brought us the Muppets and things like that. But this is such a fun musical. And I think it's As We All Fall Down, I think is the full title. That's my favourite song in this. I do like Magic Dance. Like, don't get me wrong, that's a fun, kooky musical number. But it's the dance scene with David Bowie and Sarah, our main character. I love that scene. Such a memorable scene. And I'm so glad I got to see this. Okay, and at number 1, like I said, this is the movie that got me into musicals. And that is Grease. If you are new to this channel, you will not be aware that this is my absolute favourite musical of all time. This was the one that got me into them. I think, what was it? I think it was on BBC, and we were all sat there in the living room. We were just watching it, and my dad started singing the songs because my dad had seen Grease. And I don't know what it is, but I was just so intrigued by it. Maybe it was the romance, you know, the good girl falling for the bad boy. Maybe it was the songs. Maybe it was just the fact it's a classic. I don't know, but I really enjoyed this film. So if it weren't for this film, I don't think I would have gotten into musicals as much as I have. But yeah, this is, yet again, another cheesy one. But there's some really good songs in here. They stick in your head, especially when you listen to them. And even the sequel, Grease 2, I quite enjoyed. I know a lot of people don't. I can speak English. But I did. And it's not going to beat this one, but it's still a good film. But yeah, Grease is an absolutely fun film. So like I said, it's more about the romance, and it's got John Travolta in it. Hilarious. Rest in peace, Olivia Newton-John. I think they were supposed to be doing like a reunion film till she passed away, which I'm absolutely gutted about, because I would have loved to have seen all these characters back again. But no, so thanks to this film, this is the film that got me into musicals. Like I said, I haven't been fully into them as much lately. I've sort of gotten into other genres. But because I've been listening to musicals on my Spotify, I thought, why not actually think about it and find out what movie musicals are my top 10. Like, what are my go-to musicals that I'd want to watch again and again, or that if I was in a musical mood, I'd go for that one. I mean, it was just a couple of weeks ago I was in a musical mood and I put on The Greatest Showman, and it was so good to go back into that film because it is such an amazing film. So, yeah. So, like I said, I do still enjoy my musicals, but it's just very rare now these days. But because of the mood I was in, I had to find out. But yeah, so I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then do give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to this channel, then go ahead, hit that subscribe button and also notification bell down below to be notified when I post. And also leave me your comments and thoughts on your top 10 movie musicals. Is yours the same as mine? Is yours different? Could you have the same films but in a different order? I'd love to hear your guys' top 10 lists. I'm not sure what my next one will be. Fairly certain it might be the end of the year one. So my top 10 best and top 10 worst movies of the year. That might be the next one. I'm not 100% sure. At the moment, I'm going free flow. So I've got a schedule, but I'm also choosing the videos that I want to do. But yeah, so I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.